Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Arneson here. I am going to go over the myths and misconceptions about evolution assignment with you guys. I suggest that you take notes while I'm talking about this if you learn anything new that you didn't already know or that wasn't in the video, because there will be a quiz over this information. So, one of the essential questions that you guys have to answer in this particular class is what is evolution in the first place? And a lot of times when I talk with students or adults even, people don't really understand evolution very well. They think that it means that monkeys turned into people, and that would be crazy if anyone believed that. So of course that's not the case. That's not really what evolution is all about. But that means that we do have to answer the question, well, what is evolution all about? And so this video is a really quick little summary of some things that people think about evolution that are wrong. That way you can start to think about it a little bit better. Let me pause for a second because I need to yell at my. Okay, I'm back. So this assignment asked you to open up a document called Myths and Misconceptions, and you were supposed to read the statements. So most scientists do not agree about evolution. If you think that's true, you put a T. If you think that's false, you put an F. And you do that before you watch the TED Ed video. Then, after you fill that out, you're supposed to watch the TED Ed video, which is, I'm just pulling mine up so you can kind of see what it looks like. That way you make sure you're on the right track. It's this one right here. It is made by Alex Gendler. Okay, so you're supposed to watch that, and then you're supposed to answer these post questions again. And so I kind of want to talk about each of these because this is really going to give you a good idea of what evolution is, and that's why I'm suggesting you could take notes. In fact, you could just put them right here on your document, just type right into your assignment, and then you turn them into me, and then there's proof that you took notes. So I really recommend that. All right, so the first question, most scientists don't agree about evolution. Okay, that is a false statement. Most scientists, in fact, like almost all scientists, just understand that evolution is the explanation for the diversity of life that we have on Earth. There's no need to debate it in the scientific community. And most of the world that has been industrialized, so nations that are considered developed, all of the people in those countries, they also believe in evolution. It's kind of a weird thing in the United States where people like say, well, I don't believe in evolution. And I think it's because they don't understand what it means. So I'm hoping that I can help you understand what it means. And just know that basically all scientists are like, yes, evolution is real. It happened. We're going to go over how do we know it happened in later videos. But for now, just know that scientists, they accept this as the best explanation. When we talk about a scientific theory like evolution, it could change in the future if we discover new evidence. It could totally be flipped on its head and we could have a totally new understanding of how creatures got here on this planet and why they're so similar and why they're so different. But for now, based on the evidence we have, evolution is king. All right, question number 2, or it's really a statement, sorry. Evolution is organisms adapting to their environment. Almost everyone wants to put true for this, but it's actually false. Evolution isn't organisms adapting to their environment, and the reason it's not true is because organisms don't really adapt. They don't come up with this plan to change something about themselves. Like if I could adapt and make myself more attractive, and then I could have I don't know, possibly married somebody richer than Mr. Arneson, I would want thicker hair. Don't give me any acne. Like those would be adaptations that I would choose. I would also like to have a really fast metabolism and eat whatever I want without gaining weight. This is not the case for me. So I can't choose to adapt. What happens is that a population will adapt based on their genetic changes. And there's more little things on here that are about that. So we'll get to those. Individual organisms do not evolve. Okay, that is true. Individual organisms like me, I can't evolve. I can't choose to change. I can't choose to have a baby that's different than my genes would just make happen naturally. Well, maybe with genetic engineering, but we're not to that point yet where we're doing designer babies. There's a class on that later. Okay, so, but for the most part, like individual organisms, like an elephant, cannot evolve. So in regular life, we use terms like adaptation to mean like you change. Like right now, we're all adapting to the fact that we have to do online classes because there's a global pandemic. And that's a perfectly appropriate way to use the word um, adaptation when you're just talking in regular life. But when we're talking about evolutionary adaptation, it has a very specific meaning that we'll get into later. Okay, same thing with evolve. Evolve can mean change over time to like um, to learn something new. I'm having to evolve right now, learning how to use these video things so I can make you a lesson online. And that's a good way to use it in regular life. But evolution or evolve means something very specific when we're talking in terms of science. So I'll tell you what that is in a second because it's going to be on your quiz later, so you might want to write it down. Okay, now next. Random genetic mutations cause organisms to have advantageous or negative traits. Okay, you guys know that you have DNA, right? You've got DNA, it's from passed down from your parents. All organisms have DNA. Well, when DNA gets copied so that you have more of it to pass down to your offspring, sometimes something can go wrong. And when something goes wrong in a copy of genes, we call it a mutation. Sometimes that copy, that mistake is good, and then we would say it's advantageous. And sometimes it's really bad, like it makes you sick, and sometimes you can even die before you're born because of certain mutations. So mutations are changes in the DNA. Nobody wants them to happen. They just do by chance because copying DNA is actually pretty complicated, and so sometimes it doesn't go perfectly. So with this one, random genetic mutations can cause organisms to have advantageous or negative traits. So this is true. I have blue eyes, and blue eyes are a genetic mutation that was actually advantageous for people that live near the poles, and we'll watch a video on that later, so that'll be our example for that. And that was helpful to me. But, well, not me specifically, but my ancestors, because I have ancestors from Scandinavia, so they live near the poles where there's like basically no sunshine at all in the winter ever. So that's one of the reasons that blue eyes are better to have there. That'll be explained to you a little bit later in a video. You could also have a negative trait. There are some mutations, like for example, if you have a sickle cell disease, then your cells don't form the way normal blood cells do, and you can actually die from that. So there are good mutations and there are bad mutations, but they are random. So based on that, you can tell that statement number 4 is true. Random genetic mutations can cause good or bad things to happen. Hold on, I gotta pause again. Back again. It's a good thing I can pause this because it seems like while I'm doing this, there's going to be a lot of interruptions. Okay, for statement number 5, evolution always favors the biggest, strongest, or fastest. So this goes right back to the title of this class. It's survival of the fittest, because that's what people think evolution is, the fittest. Okay, and it is the fittest. Okay, but sometimes fittest just means like you hide better than everybody else. Because fitness in evolution is how well do you survive long enough so that you can make babies. So by this definition of fitness, Donald Trump is more fit than I am because he has like I think 4 kids or something. And I have no genetic kids, so I haven't passed down my genes to my offspring at all. So if in pure terms of evolution, he would be more fit than I am. But I'm sure if we had to like run a race, like I would win because he basically just sits around and eats fast food all day. Okay. Question number 5 is false. Sometimes the organism that hides the best is the fittest because they hide and the predator doesn't eat them, and then they can have babies, so they're passing on their genes to their offspring. Next, statement number 6. Fitness describes how well suited an organism is to their environment. So that is true. There are certain creatures that you can't see, like they blend in really well and they hide. That makes them suited to their environment. Um, if you have one organism that is able to dig underground and eat roots and nobody else is eating the roots of the plants, then it's fit because it is surviving long enough to reproduce. So remember that fitness isn't only about survival, it's also about making babies. If you survive, but you don't make any babies, you are evolutionarily fit because you didn't pass down your genes. Now your DNA is lost to the world, to the genetic gene pool. 7, evolution occurs at the organism level. So this and number 3 are basically the same, so I'm thinking you already know the answer. Evolution occurs at the organism level? That's false. You actually have to have a population change. So if you had one giraffe ancestor and it had a really long neck, that wouldn't be evolution. That would be one organism that has a longer neck. And if it's good, we would call it an adaptation. If it makes you able to eat something that somebody else isn't eating, we would call that an adaptation. But we would not call it evolution until that one giraffe with the really long neck has a bunch of babies, and the babies all have long necks, and then their babies all have long necks, and then you have like a whole species of giraffe. So you have to have evolution occur not on a little teeny scale, but on a big scale with the whole population. All right, next. Organisms choose to adapt. Okay, no, they don't. If you could choose to adapt, I am sure there are some things you could change about yourself to make yourself more fit to find a better mate for offspring, or at least find more mates for offspring. But unfortunately, you can't just change yourself like that. I mean, I dye my hair dark, but like I wouldn't be able to pass dark hair down to my kids. If I had genetic kids, they would be blonde because Mr. Arneson is blonde and I'm blonde. And there's nothing I can do to change that in my DNA. I can change it on my hair, but I have to keep re-dyeing it as it grows out because my DNA didn't change. It's just that my hair that is already here is a different color. Okay, I hope that kind of helps you understand some really important things about evolution. Let me give you, I promised I'd give you a definition of evolution at the end of this video, and this will be on your test, so definitely pay attention to it. Okay, evolution is population level genetic change over time. Okay, so population level genetic change over time. So when I say time, I mean you have to have multiple generations for the new adaptation to become an evolutionary change in a population, because that adaptation has to be passed down through enough generations for the whole species to be affected by it. That's evolution. You have to have it on a big scale. So individual organisms, they can have adaptations, which are random genetic changes, but until a whole population has those adaptations, you haven't had evolution yet. So evolution is population level change over time. Have fun on your quiz, or at least good luck.